for children with learning difficulties. Based in Cabra, Sister Lydia has tested the hearing of generations of children, and she's due to retire later in the year. She's been telling us about the changes she's seen over the course of her long career.
Mommy too. Now we see.
Sister Lydia is testing Aaron, who's been referred recently with fluid on the ear, also known as glue ear.
At the moment, he doesn't have enough comprehension to actually do even a very simple hearing test, apart altogether from the behaviour issue.
We were just so frustrated with Aaron all the time. He just wasn't doing anything we were asking him to do. He was fighting with anybody that came into sight. Aaron was fighting with, and it was just pure frustration on his part because of the not understanding what we were saying to him.
Give it to Mummy. Give it to Mummy.
Good boy.
Yeah, it's the experience, it's the activity that he learns the language from, not the book.
Yeah.
And sometimes a child, now at his age, possibly he would be a bit past it, but sometimes when you show a picture of an object to a child and he knows the object in the picture, he wouldn't recognise the real object when he'd see it because of the size.
Okay. Yeah.
So pictures,
sense,
pictures also are a bit of a nuisance.
She gave me some things to do at home with him, like, you know, no TV and no books and no colours, no crayons. He's needing grommets now at this stage, but they wanted to just check that there was no long-term damage done from the fluid on the ears. So this is why we're here, really. Like, she's realising now that his development is a little bit behind what he actually should be. This is why she's seeing him, and please God, things will improve for us, like, as a family, because we find it very difficult being at home with him.
Bah! Bah!
Sister Lydia is probably best remembered for this health promotion film made over 30 years ago. It was to encourage mothers to get the rubella injection.
Deaf children have great difficulty in learning to communicate, and although of normal intelligence, they may be 4 years retarded educationally.
Immunisation has reduced the problem of deafness, but other problems have persisted.
Glue ear was becoming an issue. That was in the late 1960s, early 1970s. Even though it was a mild hearing loss, it was causing language problems, emotional problems, learning problems, and particularly when it occurred in a baby, their language could be just as delayed as a child who was born deaf.
Children with autism or specific speech problems can be referred on by Sister Lydia, but she can help with language delay, a growing problem.
Over time, I began to notice that a lot of children were being referred to me with the complaint, he mustn't be able to hear. He doesn't do what I tell him. His speech isn't developing. And fairly quickly it became obvious that I was seeing children who had perfectly normal hearing, who didn't have glue ear, but who simply didn't know what was being said to them.
Sister Lydia believes that both parents working, growing age gaps between siblings, and too much television are factors in development problems. Or it can be simply a lack of communication with young children.
You don't learn language from television because there's no activity involved in it. You're simply sitting there, a captive audience, looking at the cartoons on the screen. It must be 5 years ago since I asked parents to turn off television, fully for children who have this language delay. And no parent has come back and said it made no difference. We used to listen. I think children today watch everything.
Hi, Oren. How are you?
Oren has made a big improvement since he started seeing Sister Lydia 2 months ago.
I think Aaron's main problem was he was kind of around adults too much all the time. So nobody was really spending time with him.
We call that language delay. What he had was purely language delay. All he needed was to hear the language.
He couldn't actually hear the whole sentence of what I was asking him. He said he couldn't hear it, he couldn't understand it. As I said, he was You'd ask for something and all he'd hear would be no. You couldn't hear, you can have it later. All he was hearing was no. That's where the tantrum was coming in.
Which one can you read? Good boy, that's right. So instead of saying, where's the book? I said, which one can you read? So he's come now to the point that he can understand something as complex as that.
His tantrums was probably one of the biggest problems I was having with him. Trying to get him into a buggy was a disaster. After he came here to see Sister Lydia, like, after the first time he came to see Sister Lydia, he started calming down. And it's like now you can just put him into the pram, there's no kicking, no screaming. Let you bring him into any of the shops he wants to go into.
Sister Lydia is now due to retire after 40 years of this work with young children.
The boy.
A very interesting life. I wouldn't have wanted to do anything other than the type of work I was doing. My intention when I went into the clinic initially was that we were providing a service for parents. I felt that as religious that who believe in the gospel and gospel values are important, that it was important that parents be provided with the service they need. So from the very beginning, I aimed at keeping my waiting list as short as possible, and I have managed through thick and thin to keep my waiting list at 2 weeks. At the moment, we hope that the service will continue. We have somebody in training at the moment, and that the clinic will develop even more. Ooh, do this one. Good boy.
Next to a big stage. Up to now, Dublin has missed out on major international